we start discussing the laws of Pesach, right? The Gemara talks about it, Shloshim lifna regel, 30 days before the Yom Tov. Actually, when it says on Purim, it's a very big mitzvah to learn, because the whole world is busy, then all the Jews are busy, Mishloach Manot, Seuda, really nobody has time to study. They say somebody that studies Torah, it's a very big madrega. For him, the merit of his learning, the world stands. Now, what are you supposed to learn? Guys, no one's not running away, I promise you. Just leave it. So the question is, what are you supposed to learn on Purim? On Purim, so they say you should learn laws of Pesach, because again, as you know, Adar has only 29 days. So 30 days before Pesach falls exactly on Purim. So on Purim, before the Seudah, whenever they learned Hilchos Pesach. Now, I'm not going to learn halachas. You have wonderful rabbeim here that they teach you, they learn with you the laws of Pesach. What we're going to discuss is a concept of emunah, maybe a little bit of a story. And the reason is, as you know, the Gemara says, one of the reasons why our parents got saved from Mitzrayim was because of the emunah of the righteous women. As you know, the men didn't want to have any children, because they said if they're boys, they're going to get killed. And if they're girls, the best is going to happen to them. They're going to be brought up as slaves. As you know, the Midrash says they gave the men the work of the women, they gave the women the work of the men. They were all slaves. So do you see a future for our kids? Either death or slavery? Not worth it. But obviously the women encouraged their husbands to have children, because they said, well, you know what? God says to have kids. And God promised he's going to take us out of Egypt. So this whole situation is only temporary. It's not forever. So let's have children. So because of their faith, for our mothers, I'm saying, for the righteousness of our mothers, so we got saved from Mitzrayim. So I'm going to actually discuss one statement of Hayom Yom, and then one story to support that. In Hayom Yom, there's a statement from the Rebbe Rashav. That's the fifth Lubavitcher Rebbe. A lot of you guys will become probably, again, I'm sure some of you guys become rabbeim, but as you know, most of the Jewish people are in business and the professional world, and they're basically self-employed, unless you work for Kaiser. I'm just kidding. They pay you. But I'm just saying, if let's say you have your own business, you have your own firm, really you're self-employed. And it's a very scary world. I was today talking to somebody, actually I called him for the banquet. I don't want to say his name. And he said, Rabbi, you know what? My huge business was based on Arab customers, talking about thousands of dollars. And because of October 7th, he stopped dealing with me. So he's going bankrupt, the poor guy. So when you have, you're self-employed, it's really, really scary. So the Rabbi Rashab says there's nothing to be afraid of. We have to have the complete faith that God will send our parnasa, our livelihood, not just a little bit that, you don't get kicked out in the street, but He's going to send it berevach. Berevach means very broad. And early in the morning when we get up as professionals and as business people, we have to have so much trust that God will send us what we need, as if you already have that. Early in the morning, before you even opened up your store, before you went to work. That's the faith that a balesek, a business person, is supposed to have. There's a story actually, in Rabbi Yaakov Kuli brings it down in Mamloes. There was a man that was walking around and crying. So a Talmid Chacham sees him, why are you crying? He said, Tera, I made a bracha, hamechin mitzade gover, that God directs the steps of a human being. We say it, when you put on shoes. And why? Because when you put on your shoes, you go to work. So it's a bracha for parnasa. He said, God prepared my livelihood. But he was crying. So he says, why are you crying? He says, I'm not worried that I don't have money. I'm worried that I made a bracha levatala. I said, God is going to send my needs, but I didn't have anything. So Talmid Chacham told me, don't worry, it's not bracha levatala. Because whatever you have is your needs, your health, whatever it is. But he was in such a big madrega, he wasn't crying for not making a penny. He was crying, maybe made a bracha levatala. So I'm going to share a story with you actually. This is about a emunah of a person that his faith was even bigger than the Baal Shem Tov. It could be a Friday night story or Shabbat day story at your tables. One time it was revealed to the Baal Shem Tov that there is a simple Jew that has bigger faith in God than the Baal Shem Tov. As you know, a real tzaddik wants to learn from everyone, right? A real good Jew, doesn't matter bigger or smaller. So Baal Shem Tov wanted to know, who's this person that he has so much faith in God that is even bigger than the Baal Shem Tov? So he prayed and he prayed. Finally, God revealed it to him. So what's so funny, people? Really, what's so funny? I feel like I'm a clown. You guys are laughing at me. Don't do that, please. You want to go finish your laughs and come back? Go finish your laugh right now, please. It disturbs me. I'm being honest. I'm nice, but it's disturbing me because I don't think I look like a goat that you have to laugh at me. I have a beard, but I'm not a goat. The biggest goat of the whole time. What do you say?
Greatest of all time.
No, I'm not the greatest. Everybody's the greatest. Everybody is the only unique child of God. So please, guys, let's be serious, please. Anyway, so he prays to God, and then Hashem reveals it to Baal Shem Tov. He gets inside his wagon Saturday night, and they travel. They get to a certain place, and the horses stop there. So he knew this is the place where he has to go. He knocks on the door. It was an inn. A lot of Jews used to have inns. They were innkeepers, and they had to pay rent once a year. What kind of money did they make as an innkeeper? Oh, all right. Are they laughing at you or they're laughing at me? Or at both? You see? Thank you for listening. Anyways, so what happens is, they had to pay their rent once a year. How did they pay the rent? Because people bought vodka, people, whatever, I don't know, they came and they slept in the inn. So they made enough money to take care of their family and pay the rent. What if it was a difficult winter that nobody traveled? Extremely cold winter, so people didn't travel. No money, nobody came to buy vodka, nobody came to buy a meal or to sleep there. So anyways, they get into that hotel and they knock on the door. The man sees the Baal Shem Tov, some religious Jews, and he invites them to daven shachris. They make a minyan, they daven. In middle of davening, you know what happens, people? A policeman comes, some guy looking like a police, he has a big bat. Is it a baton? What do you call that? The baton in his hands, and he's knocking on the table 3 times. Okay, they don't know what the reason is. Baal Shem Tov doesn't say a word. They finish davening, and he's preparing a breakfast. Again, the same guy comes and he knocks on the table 3 times. Then they're in the middle of the meal, almost about to do Birkat Hamazon, and then the guy comes and knocks on the table 3 times again. So the Baal Shem Tov says, "What's the story with this?" He says, "Well, I have to pay rent today." So this guy comes from the landlord 3 times, knocks on the table. After the 3rd time, I only have 1 hour to pay my rent. So Baal Shem Tov tells him, "Okay, so why don't you go pay your rent?" So he says, "Because I don't have any money. It was a very difficult winter." Now, how's he so quiet? I don't know. Baal Shem Tov was amazed. And then when they did Birkat Hamazon, he was benching with such kavana. So obviously, if I have to go to court, and again, what happens if they didn't pay the rent? It wasn't like today that they give you, 30 days. The landlord was like a king. He just had to pay the king of the country taxes. He could make any rules that he wants. If he didn't pay the rent, they would throw you into a pit until your wife and kids went around and collected money to pay the rent. It was really bad. That's the way it was in old Europe. They were called the squires or the parits. I'm sure if you have listened to Yiddish-speaking people or Hebrew-speaking people, they call them pritzim, the parits. So it says, "I don't have any money," but he was benching with such kavanah. Baal Shem Tov was amazed. So after benching, he asked him, "How are you going to pay?" He says, "Well, I'm sure God is going to help me." This is, what Baal Shem Tov had to learn from him. So he's walking outside and he says, "I'm sure God is going to help me." Baal Shem Tov is watching him. The guy walks out, going towards his landlord, and then a wagon passes by. Somebody gets off the wagon, talks to him. The wagon travels, it goes away. Then the wagon goes back and gives some money to that person that needed the money, and he starts going further. So the Baal Shem Tov runs to the wagon and he asks the guy, "What was going on? You spoke to this guy, you left, you went back, you gave him money. What was the story?" So he says, "You know what? I buy a lot of vodka from this guy. This guy makes the best vodka in town." Have you ever heard gas stations close down because they put water in the gas? So some people also put water in the vodka, but this guy, no, doesn't do that. He's an honest person. He gives me the best vodka. So I asked him, "I want to order vodka from you again." And he said, he told me a ridiculous price. I said, "Why do you take the price so much higher than last year?" He said, "Well, I have to pay rent to my landlord. If I don't have the money today, I'm going to be thrown in jail. Then I can't make it for you. But if you want me to make it for you, you got to pay me the rent." In the beginning, I said, "No, I don't want it." But then I thought, such a nice guy. He always gives me the best vodka. It's a time of need for him. I could do him a favor, pay him some extra money, and he could make the vodka for me. So I went back and I gave him the money, and that's how I got the money to pay his landlord. So Baal Shem Tov told the students, we learned our lesson. I see the great faith that he has. It's time for us to go back. But this actually goes along with what Rabbi Rashab, the fifth Lubavitch Rabbi, says, that again, you guys, a lot of you, I'm sure you're going to be Rabbeim. Some of you will go work for Kaiser. Listen, I love Kaiser. I had all my 3 kids in Kaiser. I'm not making fun of it. Actually, my wife had 2 open heart surgeries in Kaiser in Sunset. They have the best heart surgeons. I'm not kidding. I'm not saying every department is the best. I hope they're not going to sue me here talking. Didn't say anything bad, did I? I hope not. I was going to say the bad. Anyways, my 3 kids were born there. My wife had 2 heart surgeries there. But again, over there, you're on a paycheck. You're feeling, there's no challenge. Kaiser is there. But most of you guys that you're going to be on your own, as Zarar Rashab said, the challenge of a business person is that he's so happy when he wakes up early in the morning. He has the full faith that God will bring him the parnasa that he needs, and not just parnasa in a very, very meager way. The language is bereva, in broadness, and actually the faith itself will open up channels for you to make a lot of money. Have you ever slept in the street? No. God always send money to your parents to pay the rent, right? Or to pay the mortgage, even at the most difficult times. So these are lessons for us to learn, that God is always there to protect us.